Does anyone have a question they would like to ask?
Stuart,
Yes?
is it normal to have stronger and weaker connections to spirit throughout one's life and one's day? And when the connection is not as strong, are there things other than the meditation that one can do to strengthen that connection?
Look, I'm not quite sure what normal is, you know? In fact, I gave up, normal a long time ago. So, yes, there are ups and downs. There are times when our energy is not quite as strong as it was maybe a couple of days before. There are times when it is. Now, my suggestion in that situation is to take it upon oneself to build a system inside that is really strong, a chakra system that's highly developed, so that, when when little negative spurts of energy come into your life, you have the power inside to be able to deal with them. And you have the power inside to sustain positive energy. Now, all of this is a learning process. I mean, we experience the negative side of life as a reminder that we haven't gone deep enough yet. We need to still work on ourselves. We're not perfect. We have to truly get closer to God and develop a more enlightened state inside. It's all an education. And in my understanding of this, there's nothing negative, It's negative if you want to see it as negative. It's an education, it's your teacher if you want to see these different states of being that way. And then nothing is negative. It's all just an opportunity to learn. Please try and sit still. It's all an opportunity to learn. And, yeah, I'm sure there are I learned how to do this through this meditation. And when I went through, especially when I was younger, I went through depressed states and difficult states. It just was telling me, Stuart, you've got to have patience and you've got to build the kind of system inside yourself that is strong enough to be able to deal with this divergent of energy. And, I learned from Rudy how to do it, and I applied all of the things I learned from him to develop the capacity to live that way. And I'm not saying in my life everything is perfect. No, I mean, things go wrong, things you like, you don't like, but none of it really bothers me. And all of it is, for me, just an opportunity to grow, to learn something deeper about myself. And I'm sure there are other techniques. I teach what I teach. Other people chanting, there's deep religious belief, there's all kinds of stuff, that people practice in order to try to overcome, these negative feelings and to build a connection with God. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but it's what works for you. And, when I was younger, I knew a lot of this stuff. I just didn't know how to do it. And after I met Rudy, I learned how to do it. And I applied then and I apply now this knowledge to every situation that manifests in my life, transforming the negativity into positive energy. So yes, I'm sure there are many ways, but I don't go looking for them anymore. I did when I was younger, but I don't anymore. I don't because I found something that really works. So what am I going to do? Trade it in for something that I'm not quite sure works? And I can be very honest with you, it saved my life, this meditation practice. I don't see any way I would be alive today if it wasn't for what I learned from Rudy and what I applied to my life under, I'm telling you, some of the most horrific circumstances you could ever imagine. I mean, just on the top of the list is an airplane crash in which the person who I loved the most in the world died. And that's enough to depress somebody for the rest of their life. But if it wasn't for Rudy, who told me, learn what I have to teach. One day I won't be here anymore. Learn what I have to teach. I mean, if one begins to see the world this way, it becomes much more rewarding to look at the world as just various and sundry opportunities to grow spiritually and get closer to God. Not as positive and negative and right and wrong. It's not the way I want it to be. I don't know how it's supposed to be. I get up in the morning and it is. It just is. And now I have to be able to work whatever it is, whatever my condition is. When I get up sometimes, there's a lot of pain, physical pain, this and that. What do I do about it? I have to work with it, grow because of it. Get up and, there are financial problems. There's this, there's all kinds of stuff that take place in the life of a human being. But none of it is positive to negative to me anymore. Everything is just an opportunity to grow and to build my inner life and to get closer to God. And I learned after years of doing this that this meditation works to transform oneself if you do it in a profound way. Again, I'm not saying this is the only way. It's not. There are many ways, I mean, I went all over India sitting with this guru and that Rinpoche and that Swami, and and I finally decided that I have to stop this pilgrimage because I had found in New York City, my hometown, a person who gave me a spiritual practice that I never met anyone anywhere, all over India, all over Europe, wherever that even got close to it. But that's for me, it's not for everybody, And I try to teach that today, only because I know that it works. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Another thing that works is developing the capacity to just laugh at yourself. I mean, it's one of the best medicines on the earth. When you're going through difficult things, you just look at it and just, tongue in cheek, say, okay, I'm going to be all right. And one thing I've learned in my own life, honestly, I'm not in competition with anybody else's spiritual practice. Anything that works for any of you to help you grow spiritually, I'm 100% behind. Not some trip or some dogma or some thing where it becomes very righteous, but something that really allows one to get closer and closer to the highest levels of their humanity, where there's love, there's joy, there's, you become a servant of God, a servant of higher energy. I'm not in competition with that. I support that, and I think it's wonderful. Because everybody is unique and everybody finds what works for them. It took me 9 years to find Rudy, of a lot of suffering and a lot of difficulty. To just what seemingly was an accident, but it really wasn't an accident. I walked into his life, and suddenly my whole life began to change. And I remember saying to myself, Stuart, you spent all these years listening to yourself, and you almost put yourself into a sanitarium. I said, it's time to listen to somebody else who maybe has a little more wisdom and has love and has guidance and wisdom, cares that you grow, cares that you have a spiritual life, has devoted themselves to a higher energy in the universe. When I finally began to hear that little piece of wisdom, it also changed my life, because I opened to let something come in beside my own head. And it wasn't easy. I mean, I went through the ups and downs. It was like riding on a raft, on a white water river on a raft, having to navigate oneself through so many difficulties and problems. Problems I created for myself and problems that a lot of people created for me. And ultimately to learn that all of it was there to teach me what to do to grow inside myself. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? I hope this is clear, because the first thing is the commitment one makes to having a spiritual life. And once you make that commitment, then it's the act of doing whatever is necessary to develop a spiritual life. I mean, it's one thing to say, I want a spiritual life. It's another thing to do what is essential to develop a spiritual life. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? And it's like Moses in the Red Sea, suddenly you have this thing that, the sea opens and you can walk through. You step out of confinement, your own inner confinement, into a sense of freedom, a sense of God, of spirit, joy, love. Okay, if there are no more questions, then there'll be meditation on Sunday. And, I keep saying this, and I'm almost like a broken record. God bless you all for being here. And your presence is like an amazing teacher for me that truly helps me to grow and helps me to find much deeper places in myself to work. Each and every one person here is completely their own unique human being. And being unique that way, everybody has something wonderful to offer to myself and to everyone else that's in these classes. So God bless you all. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody on Sunday. Bless you.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.